Acho que agora sim. Welcome, everyone. I'm Miriam from Brazil, from CPNN. We are here to talk about peace is in our hands. We're going to talk, are we naturally peaceful? Subscribe to our channel and share our content. If you want to know more about our work, please enter in our website. It's cpnn-world.org. And today we have a very special guest. His name is Roberto Mercadillo. He has a doctorate degree in biomedical science at the National University of Mexico. He's a fellow of the National Council for Science and Technology in the neurosciences. So he knows a lot about brains and neuroscience. He's a professor in the National School of Anthropology and History, and he had a lot of research about human populations in vulnerability, social emotions and cognition in basic models, such as people living in the streets, drug consumers, indigenous populations, victims of violence and war circumstances. He's a Mexican representative of an international colloquium on brain and aggression, and also he's a member of Culture of Peace News Network and director of Transitional Justice and Peace. So he's very qualified to talk about culture of peace. And I would love to start. Welcome. Thank you for accepting our invitation. And I would love to hear from you. Would you like to share anything else about yourself? And are we naturally peaceful, Roberto?
Thank you very much, Miriam. And thank you very much to be here to talk about something that is very important in these times, to think and to accept that peace is in our hands. So to answer the main questions in this talk, if we are naturally peaceful, the answer, I definitely think not. I think that we are not naturally peaceful. Human beings are not naturally peaceful. I think that it is very important to discuss this issue because as we think that we are not naturally violent, some people think that, well, if we are not violent by nature, maybe we are violent, maybe we are peaceful by nature as a contraposition, but no, not exactly. No, if we think that we are naturally peaceful and we can only follow our peaceful instincts or peaceful pulses, so peace is not in our hands. Because if we just follow these supposed naturally peaceful impulses, so peace is not in our hands. It's just in our biology. And I think that that is not correct. That's why nowadays we don't talk about peace, but about culture of peace. Because culture is in our hands. We can use our bodies and our biology to build this culture. But that we have some biological events to make this doesn't mean that we are naturally like that.
And how can we think and build this culture of peace? As you had a lot of studies on this field, what did you discover? What could we do?
Okay, I will follow a similar rationale that was used in the Seville Statement on Violence. In 1989, a group of researchers of the world say that we are not naturally violent. They said it is scientifically incorrect to say that we have a violent brain or a genetical program to be violent. they said, we are aggressive, we have some issues, we have a biology that can discuss aggressive behaviors. But these aggressive behaviors are not violence. Violence is the use of force to and to use the power over the others to get some egoistic interests. And that is not aggression, that is violence. And violence is a cultural decision that use our biological items to dispose aggression. I think that in culture of peace is a similar rationale. We have some biological traits that make us cooperate, that make us empathize, that make us understand the other. We can have these biological items as dispositions, but that's only a disposition. Our biology is a kind of disposition we can use. But the way we can use these dispositions are modeled by a cultural world that we build. We intentionally build. So at the end, we cannot reach, we cannot think in the peace alone, because peace at the absence of conflict is impossible. The life is a conflict process, but we can think about a culture of peace. So we can think about a culture that makes these conflicts to be solved in a non-violent manner. That's culture of peace. So with this in mind, with this kind of culture of peace in mind, so we can decide as human beings to use our biology to develop this kind of culture. So one of the main points to develop this culture is to understand each other. We have to understand each other. We have to think and accept that the other people feel and think similar than me. We have to learn the notion of equality. And that is a cultural trait. So in neurobiological studies that we have performed in Mexico and in other parts of the world, we know that when we decide to help other people, when we decide to understand how other people feel, when we decide to cooperate with other people, our brain function implies very old brain regions related with basic emotional experiences such as fear, anger, happiness. But also we use, our brain use very recent evolved functions, particularly prefrontal functions, related with morality, with aesthetics, with ethics, which are cultural traits. So when we decide to cooperate and to understand other people, we use emotions, a very mammalian emotions, and very humans, moral and aesthetics codes that we learn along our lives.
Wow.
And so our biology indicates that the culture we live is essential to decide how we interact with the other person. And a very, very important point is that our brain can respond in an empathic manner only if I have learned that the other people who is suffering, who is smiling, etc., is equal than me. if I have not the notion of equality, if I have not learned that the person in front of me is equal and similar than me, this brain empathic process does not perform.
Mhm.
We can learn empathy to understand the other people using our biology, but only if we learn that all the people who we live with is equal than me. And that is a cultural learning.
So we can say as the same as culture of war is a decision, culture of peace is a decision as well. And if we decide to evolve on this and choose a culture of peace, we can really make the change in the world. We believe in that.
Yes, I totally think that a culture of peace is a decision. And we not only can, we have to decide how to, we have to decide first how we can, people, decide to interact with the other people. We have to design educational systems to learn people how to decide that the other is equal than me. And then if I if I know that the other person is equal and similar than me, why can I be violent with that people? Why? In fact, my brain inside my own body, when I when I watch other people, for example, in suffering, and I try to understand how that people feel, I cannot use the body of that people to understand. I have to use my own body because my brain has the representation only of my own body. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to perform a, a cognitive process in which the body of the other people enter in the body representations in my brain of my own body. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is the empathic process. So if I really feel the other person's body inside my own representation body, I cannot be violent with that people because my brain read that violent behavior as if as if it is a harming with me to myself. Yeah. So if I really think that the other is similar than me and use this brain mechanism, I cannot be violent.
I agree. I totally agree. And how do you think that we can spread this? And like you said, putting in education. And is there any other practical things and things that we could do, even in our daily life or with our governments? What would you suggest so we can really start to build this peace?
There are many things we can do. I think the first one we have to accept that all the people share similar feelings, no matter the context or no matter the color, no matter the economic, social status that people have. All the people, as people with a similar biology, we can feel and think in a similar way. And we have to insert these notions of equality in all educational systems. It's the first time we have to do. To learn that men and women are equally as human beings, that poor and rich people are equally as human beings, that African American and Asian people are equally as human beings. That is the first thing we have to do. And the other thing, it's practice. our cognition does not learn by concepts or by abstract by only abstractions. We have to practice. So we have to go out, to go to the streets, and to see the other people different than me, or to see the other people that I think are different than me. And I have to see and I have to interact with them in order to check that their movements, their feelings, their thoughts are similar than the feelings and thoughts I have too. So I have to practice what the Manifesto for Culture of Peace and Nonviolence say. I have to give my time and my resources to interact with the other people. And not because I have to be a good person, because I have to know the other person. That's all.
And even that they have like a different position, because now in the world we see a lot of polarization, and this is, I think, putting a lot of people apart instead of bringing them together and having this feeling. So would you have any tip, any recommendation so people can start to build bridges instead of walls? Would you recommend anything or have any message for them? What would you say?
I think that there are many recommendations. For example, there are political recommendations, for example. Many times, or since many years ago, culture of peace having tried to be developed by the national political systems. But some people, and I agree, say that it's necessary to use local governments. Why local governments? Because local politic systems can make possible these micro interactions that is necessary to know and to understand the people who is just beside to me, in my same street, in my same city. If I learn how to that the people near to me feel and think and can think that me, so I can easily understand that other people in other countries can have the same traits than these people need to me. So we need local educational systems that promote the interaction between different groups in the same municipalities, in the same cities. That is a political promotion, but also we need an individual practice. And we have to try to see more than the social representation says about that people. For example, I have this photograph. This photograph is a photograph of a boy living on the streets of Mexico City in a very poor situation. He is with her dog. The photo is called Love because the dog is called Love. Yeah. So
wow.
when my group and my students and me started with work with children living on the streets of Mexico City, we perceived these children as very different than we are. Because they are in a poor situation, because they are in vulnerability, because they live in very violent and hard contexts. But when you realize that they feel love, that they also feel happiness, that they share their feelings with their dogs, then they can't appreciate beauty as we want. So you can realize that they also have dignity. You don't have to help the other people just because they are vulnerable. You you help the other because you get a kind of fusion with that people, a kind of fusion because you realize that that you and them are similar, and are similar because they and you want the same things, to be treated with dignity, and that is possible only if you go with them, if you know how they live, if you know how they think, if you listen what they think. Yeah. So our biology makes us capable to be empathic, but to develop this biological disposition is necessary to interact with the other people personally in a very close. So we need to perform these kind of actions in the cities and in our local situations. And if peoples in the same street, in the same municipality, perform these kind of actions, I think that the decisions, the social decisions of this municipality will be collective.
It's
And,
amazing.
and and we try to decide together the best things and the best resources for all the collective group. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for sharing the photo as well. It's a really beautiful photo and story. I really connected with it. And um, it seems that like empathy, it's you are raising my level of knowledge about empathy, because it seems that can be in different levels, like and you can go deeper and deeper and connect more and more with people, and then we will reach this level of being the same, being humans, no matter who we are, and also if we speak the same language. Before I was talking with Roberto, and he was sharing a story about he was in a place that he didn't speak the language, and then he could connect a lot. Would you like to share with us like this story, like a personal story, with where you experienced empathy in a deep level, so you could inspire us?
Yeah, and also it's very beautiful because when our brain system and our affective and cognitive system start to be empathic, it's easily to empathize with people and situations away from my local region, because my brain works with symbolic information. When I understand that the other near to me, the person who I am watching is similar than me, I can easily think and accept that other people with similar characteristics, but away from my region, are also similar than me, because my brain processes symbolic situations. That's why I can, if I really empathize with people near than me in my context, I can also empathize with people in Brazil, in America, in Asia, in any other part of the world, because I recognize that everybody is similar, and that is very very beautiful, because in recent decades, when neurobiology and cognitive sciences started to study empathy, we understand empathy as an ability to suppose how the other people, in fact, even how the other animals feel. But the original term of empathy was called first as eifulness, and was called like that by Robert Bisher. And for Robert Bisher, who started to study empathy from aesthetics, said that empathy is an ability to appreciate beauty in the other. And I think that we have to recover that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Empathy is only to suppose and to understand how the other people feel. It's to appreciate the beauty of the other person.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yes. And when you appreciate the beauty in the other person, you can only empathize. And you cannot be violent with the other person because you don't want to harm a thing that you consider that is beauty. Yeah.
And beauty also lives in.
It's an exercise with us, no? You can appreciate the beauty of this boy, of this situation, of this relation with her dog. That's empathy. The appreciation that the other, it's beauty in the world. We have to recover that notion.
And maybe this could be for those who are listening to us. What if we start to practice seeing beauty in people and appreciating people's and also their vulnerability when they are feeling like having feelings that are more vulnerable, or also when they are in their superpowers. So maybe something that we can do during our week and this next 2 weeks. I'm going to open to the questions. There are some people asking and making some comments that I would love to read to you. So we have a question, first question from Beth Ferroni. I'm really loving this conversation, by the way. Thank you for that. I'm feeling very touched. As I shared before when we were talking, I feel my heart very warm. So it's really nice. Yeah. So Beth Ferroni, she says, I like better the meaning that peace is movement rather than absence of conflict. If you are attached to one side of the polarity, you are not in peace. Peace requires movement between these extremes. What do you think about that?
Okay. I think that peace is not only the absence of conflicts. I think that conflicts are inherent to all life processes. People, animals, and all the world, we live all the time with conflicts. What we have to learn is to solve these conflicts in a different manner. We have learned how to solve it. We have learned that conflicts can be solved only by the use of force. No, there are other options. So I think that peace movements have to be directed to try to accept that conflicts are there and always be there, but we can solve that conflicts in a different manner. And that's all.
Nice, thank you. So Herbert Lima wants to ask you, what is the of arts in building peace?
What is the what?
I didn't understand. Like, since we are emotional beings, would be a good idea to ask for public policies that promotes arts that drive nonviolent emotions.
I think that is not only important; it's essential. Many countries consider that arts is a kind of a luxurious item for a very elitistic, only for an elite group, but not. I think that art it's an expression that all we can do to express our feelings. Yeah. So art as in the same level that science can be teachable, and we have to. I think that all people have to perform a kind of art, no matter if you are a great artist or if you are Da Vinci, no matter. It's only a way to express how do you feel.
Do you do any art? What are the arts that are you doing?
Sorry?
Do you practice any art? Like, do you do any type of art?
Yeah. I maybe in another interview I can show some of the pictures I do. But in fact, for example, when I worked with with people living on the streets, or with people living in wars in the Sahrawis refugees camps in Argelia, or in the Mayan region in Mexico. I do it from the scientific point of view, but always an artist is with me, because science tend to be cold in order to understand the things. We use graphics, we use testimonies, but we need a view to catch the essence, the essential thing we see, and that ability is an artistic ability. So science and art have to work together.
Nice. And this photo that you showed us were taken by you or not? Or
Sorry?
was this photo that you just showed us with love? Did you take it or no?
No, it was taken by Sandra Monroy. Sandra is a photograph who worked with us.
It's really beautiful. So we have more questions here. You mentioned, Roberto, you mentioned local education systems promoting peace plus individual practice. And they're asking, would nonviolent communication a way for individual practice? Could it be one of the ways for individual practice, or?
If let me see if I understand. If this have to be an individual practice only, or
No. If it could be one of the tools, maybe to be used as an individual practice.
In daily life, how can do
In daily
it?
life, yes, as I understood, yes.
Yeah. Well, I think there are many ways to do it. I will say what I do, for example. No, you wake up on the morning. I meditate a little bit, some minutes, to be trying to be in the present reality. And when I go out from my house and I start to walk on the streets, I try to check this reality as a reality is. You know? And when I see that, and when I see the other people smiling, crying, etc., I try to not only see the context, but the people per se, the people itself. And that exercise made to me to try to understand how that people feel. How that people feel, and but at the same time to recognize that he or she are feeling, or I think that are feeling by that way, and I feel in other way because I am not them. I can feel like them, but I am not them, because it is difficult if all the time you are fusioning with the other people. It's very hard for the affective system, for their mind. So how can I practice this? Trying to see what people are doing, trying to understand why they are doing, and monitoring how do you feel when you see that people.
And we had a good question, another question here. Thank you for your answer. And it's about Sevilla statement. So for those who don't know, Roberto helped to write the Sevilla statement, and the question comes with a comment: is Sevilla statement was a landmark for peace, and it was science-driven in order to change public policies. It had a big impact on new public policy since 1991. And what would you imagine that would be the new statement that humanity has to do so we can promote significant changes. So what would you imagine would be the new statement that humanity has to do to make so we can promote significant changes?
Okay, that's a very good question. The Seville statement, as some people say, prepared the ground for the peace, but it's not enough. The Seville statement say we are not naturally violent. That is a first step. Now we have to say, if okay, we accept we are not naturally violent, then we have to recollect scientific evidence to say that we are potentially peaceful. Okay? We need a manifesto and a statement to say we not only are not naturally violent, but also we are potentially peaceful. And this is the scientific evidence. That is one way. And the other part of the statement have to say, how can we promote these positions, particularly from the local governments? How can local governments can promote the abilities to develop a culture of peace? I think that the next statement has to be directed to that point.
Yeah. It's been like our conversations before, and this conversation, what is like really alive to me is that about thinking global but acting local is really important so we can make the change. It's really nice to hear from you as well. And we have some comments, and just to know, like this question was from Herbert, and the question before was from Luciana Ramos. And we have some comments for you. So Adeliane Batista dos Santos, she says, I once heard something from someone that struck me. Peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is when it is possible for the relationship to continue. And I think it really connects with what you said before, that we need to not run away from conflict, but find ways to solve it and really understand that conflict will be here. So it's really nice. And Luciana Ramos also said, building bridges rather than walls. Cool. Inequality, if I harm the other, I am harming myself. So it's really...
That's cool.
And it was really amazing to hear you. Thank you for everybody that is watching us. Please subscribe to our channel. Take a look in our website, cpnn-world.org. And if you have any more comments, please leave your message here for Roberto. Roberto, would you like to share any final message for humanity and for those who are listening to us?
Yes. Well, first, thanks because your invitation and for the people who listened and who asked. And I would like that all the people accept that we can really build a peace if we decide to do it. We cannot lose the hope. We cannot accept that the world is just like that and there is nothing we can do. We can do many things, and we are doing. So try to be in this position.
Thank you for a message. I learned a lot today. Like I'm learning a lot with these interviews, and yeah, it was really amazing to have you and to learn with you and to listen to your story and all that you've been doing. It's really inspiring. I hope it can inspire more people. So yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mariam.
And thank you for all the viewers, everybody that was here with us. It was a pleasure to have you in this room. This was Peace is in Our Hands, and let's keep the peace.
Thank you.
Bye.